Yes, everyone, welcome back to another live. It's AFC Flair here, and I'm going to be going over with Manny everything about the Carabao Cup final between Arsenal and Manchester City this weekend on Sunday. So yeah, as I said, I'm joined with Manny. How you doing, Manny?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. Obviously, looking forward to it, although due to circumstances, I don't know if I'll be able to watch it because, my TV services here don't enable me to watch the League Cup, so it can't be showing my telly. Um, there is I think there might be an opportunity for me to go and watch it if I go somewhere, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the time to do that. So I'll probably have to depend on text updates or whatever. But this is sort of an opportunity for us to lay down a marker for this season, I would say. And for all of the good fortune that we've had with regard to draws and our own performances so far, I will give us that much credit. If we end up with nothing, it will be, an absolute disaster. So we need to win this. And the best managers will tell you when you win something like this, it's a start. It can lead to something really good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in regards to the team, what selection would you want to see?
Well, first of all, one of the biggest debates going around, and I don't know what your opinion on this will be, is the issue of whether or not Kepa Arrizabalaga will start in goal or David Raya will come back in. Now, there have been so many conflicting opinions on this. A large number of fans online have made it clear that they want to see David Raya come back in. And there was a bit of a debate on this issue on Dan Fox's channel. I'm pretty sure that, several other channels will have their own debates about this. For me, my issue is completely clear. Kepa has to start. He's played in every single game.
Yeah.
He hasn't necessarily been really, really good, but he's done more than enough. And for a big game like this, you don't suddenly change your goalkeeper like this. And unlike Raya, he's got cup final experience. And one little known piece of trivia is that he was the Chelsea goalkeeper when we lost the Europa League final to Chelsea in Baku in 2019. And of course, there was a lot of issues regarding the selection of our Arsenal team then. I think it's fair to say that the players actually downed tools on Unai Emery that day. And that is something for which I can never forgive the players. I didn't blame Emery for that at all. But the point is, Kepa simply has to play. And the reason why I don't want Raya to start is, yes, he's been making some wonderful saves this season. But if you take a look at his in-game play, his decision-making, and all of that stuff, I haven't been impressed by it. We've seen him gallivant out of his box more often than not. He does provide more than a few hairy moments. And I don't want to run the risk of him, going a bit too far and, having someone like Semenyo or even Shirky or whoever it may be lob him from 40 yards and we can see the goal. It's we need to play Kepa in this game. And we've already gotten the news that Guardiola will be starting Trafford in goal.
Yeah.
It's not really news because Guardiola has always played his second goalkeepers in League Cup finals unless they've been injured. So he trusts Trafford. Trafford's played in every game. We need to trust Kepa as well. And I definitely trust him. So Kepa definitely has to play.
And that's one thing for me. I feel like it's almost like starting to make a Netflix like a series on Netflix, and then all of a sudden switching the actor in the last episode. Like it would make absolutely no sense for Raya to start. I think I have full faith in Kepa. I don't really think he's actually put many foot, like he hasn't really put in a foot wrong since actually joining us. I'd be quite happy to see him start. I don't think it's one of them things where it's like, oh, there's so much on the line here. I think that I say just do it, just put him in goal, because I just don't understand why Raya would actually need to start, to be honest.
So exactly, and I know that a lot of people are going to say that, it's important to play your best 11. And in days gone by, we've had situations where Alex Manninger and Richard Wright would play in the cup game, but David Seaman would come back in for the final.
Yeah.
But Seaman had already earned his credit in the bank by winning the league in his first season with us. He won the League Cup and FA Cup double in '93, the European Cup Winners' Cup in '94. He ended up being established as England's number one. So you see that there was a huge gap between them. Now there is a little bit of a gap between David Raya and Kepa Arrizabalaga. I would agree with that, but Kepa hasn't won us any real trophies. And another thing in favour of Kepa is that last season Raya actually played in all of our cup games last season because we signed the Bournemouth captain Neto on loan, which was a dreadful panic buy, really.
Very irresponsible.
Yeah. And ironically, it was Kepa who ended up going to play for Bournemouth that season as their number one goalkeeper.
And that's the thing. Neto was cup tied, so we signed him to play in the cups where he couldn't play in the cups.
Yeah. The ironic thing is, Flair, that he should have played in the FA Cup against Manchester United, but Arteta didn't do that. And Raya had an absolutely dreadful performance in the shootout where he dived the wrong way and far too early for every single penalty. And people want to have this chap start a cup final? No.
Yeah.
No dice for me.
Whereas Kepa's got history of actually being successful in cup finals and...
Yes, exactly.
If it comes to my recollection, it was Liverpool vs Chelsea in the cup final of 2021-22, I want to say. And Kepa actually did come up with some good saves. Obviously, he was the one who actually lost it for them by skying it over the crossbar on the final penalty. But I think overall in that game, he actually played solid, and that was a cup final. Although maybe Chelsea lost, yeah, okay. But I still think that it was the right call by Tuchel to start him. And he actually did quite well. He made a few saves in the game. I remember watching it. And also on the penalty shootout, he was the one who kept Chelsea in it to the last straw.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I certainly don't believe in Kepa to be anywhere near worth the money that Chelsea paid for him. And when we got him for that cheap price, I mean, I was, laughing in some ways and seething in some others. But for a game like this, you've got to play him. And I hope that now you and I can agree on that. We can move on to some of the other positions. And what kind of worries me is that we are facing quite a few people not being fit enough to play this game.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who was actually out. I mean, Odegaard did return to training and did travel with the squad, as far as I'm concerned. So Odegaard could be actually back fit. Timber, do you know anything about Timber?
I know that Timber did have another injury against Bayer Leverkusen and had to be brought up and once again replaced by... No. I think it was White who started against the Leverkusen. I think that was right. That's right. So once again, in the game before that, Timber played and he was brought up for Mosquera. I think his injury has now become almost too serious that he can't play. So I actually would start with Ben White for this game. And it's not really because I even rate Ben White these days, but one thing I can say is that, you can count on him, I suppose, to fill a gap. And I really don't want to run the risk of starting Mosquera, who's a centre-back by trade, and putting him in at right back. I just don't know how well he would possibly do against Omar Marmoush or whoever plays on the left running up against him, if that makes any sense. So it would certainly have to be Ben White coming in at right back, and then, with the others, it would effectively be as you were. And with outfielders, at least you rotate some of them, you play them quite frequently, and I think you definitely need to have Saliba and Gabriel and Hinchapi. I think that's pretty much your confirmed, back four there, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm just looking at the sort of injury list now. So obviously we had that little scare about Eze. He came off early last game, and he did actually say after the game, like, "Oh yeah, I'll be fine." So he will be available as far as I'm concerned. Urian Timber actually could be back, but as I said, I would agree with you. Ben White has to start. And if Timber is back, leave him on the bench. Martin Odegaard, another one who's set to return. However, is another one that I'd leave on the bench and start Eberechi Eze over him. Obviously, Mikel Mourinho will be out, and that's it. So really, we haven't got any injuries apart from Mikel Mourinho.
Yeah, that sounds good, but the problem is you just never know the way Arteta's managing or mismanaging his squad that an injury won't pop up anytime soon. Quite a few of our players have been run into the ground, it has to be said. And I don't want to tempt fate, but it's only a matter of time before one of our more pivotal players ends up breaking down. And there is also a part of me, mind you, I mean, there was a part of me actually that wouldn't have minded seeing Christian Mosquera start instead of William Saliba. But if you take a look at the games that he's played recently, Mosquera has looked a little bit, dicey. And of course, when he played against Mansfield Town, I think he allowed himself to get cooked on quite a few occasions by a League One team, a League One strike force. So, again, I would have no problem starting some of our fringe players if they're, ready for the occasion, if they're up to it. But again, this now ends up being a case where more or less, aside from the goalkeeper, we would have to play something resembling our best 11, although hopefully form will be rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as long as Trossard isn't starting, I think I'll be happy with any selection, to be honest.
Well, be that as it may, there's also a conundrum. Our two left wingers, Trossard and Martinelli, seem to perform much better as subs than starters. 100%. So it all boils down to the question of whether or not you would be willing to start Bukayo Saka on the right wing and have Madueke play on the left, like what was done earlier. I think that was done for the. I think that was done for the Everton game where Kai Havertz started. And then obviously Victor Gyökeres came on and he scored, and then Max Dowman had his big break. There is a part of me that is very, very tempted to start Max Dowman, but he's never started a game before. You cannot throw him on in a cup final and expect him to, rise to the occasion almost immediately. Dowman will have to be kept on as a sub.
As a sub.
But having said that, I really am worried about Saka's fitness, and I just don't know who we can possibly play in his stead. And there are a lot of people who are having a lot of misplaced confidence that we will go on and smash them to the tune of 3-0. I'm not so optimistic. I'd like a 2-1 win. And the reason why is because, yes, we've managed to win quite a few games in recent times, but against Brighton and Everton, we have to accept that they were toothless and they couldn't even, hit a barn door with a machine gun. Same can be said about, Leverkusen, who just didn't have any quality in the final third. But against Manchester City, oh boy. And defensively, you just know that Guardiola is going to have them well tightened up. So that would mean Kusanov probably won't be starting for them. I know he's improved, but he's a liability. But back to us, I don't know if I would start Saka on the right wing. And yet, although Madueke can score one or two absolute worldies, I just don't know what he adds to the team on the right.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the. I'll just put it up now. They're predicted. So according to the London Evening Standard, they're predicted Manchester City lineup. I don't think they have the Arsenal one on here actually.
So Matheus Nunes at right back, Kusanov and Diaz in the centre, Aït-Nouri at left back. Bernardo, Rodri, Cherky, Semenyo, O'Reilly, and Haaland. Are they playing a 4-5-1 or 4-2-3-1? It looks like a 4-2-3-1 to me. That's Bernardo and Rodri in the double pivot.
Yeah, 4-2-3-1.
So I don't know if it's necessarily like Guardiola to leak that lineup out. And I can't not see him have a role for Omar Marmoush in this game because Haaland hasn't exactly been ripping up trees in recent times.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously without Vardial still. This is the predicted Arsenal one. So Kepa, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Hincapié, Zubimendi, Rice, Saka, Eze, Trossard, Havertz.
So Havertz aside, that would probably be our first choice 11. Havertz and Kepa aside, I should say.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that. Just not Trossard, but who else? I mean, I think I'd rather Martinelli. I think Martinelli has good form against City.
Yeah, but, Martinelli could, of course, come on as a sub and terrorise them, just like he did when we drew against them at the Emirates.
That's the thing. You never know, do you? Like, who's going to show up when? Because if you start Trossard, he doesn't show up at all. You won't see him in the game. Then, obviously, you bring on Martinelli, who supplies the power going forward, pacey and everything like that. I think that is a question. I mean, unless you do Eze on the left and then start Odegaard. Or, as you said, Madueke on the left and then Saka on the right.
You can't start Odegaard in a game like this. Yeah, he's just come back from injury.
Yeah.
He's just come back from injury. I really don't think his form will be the best. And although Eze has, been, I would say, inconsistent, he has provided more than a few moments.
He is showing at the end of the season.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who say that this could very well be decided by an Ebery Eze winner. People are that confident in his ability to step up. And, of course, last season, he literally was the driving force behind Crystal Palace's run to the FA Cup. So,
let's say that, yeah. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. I mean, who would you want to see striker, Havertz or Gyökeres?
It would have to be Gyökeres. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Flair, but after that game against Manchester United in the FA Cup, Havertz effectively was, dead. For me, it really made me so angry the way he was missing sitter after sitter. And then, of course, he missed his penalty in the shootout. Don't get me wrong, Odegaard didn't exactly do himself any favours by missing that penalty in normal time, which could have, which could have helped win it for us. But for me, again, it's a question of momentum. I get where Arteta's coming from because Gyökeres has also had a knack of scoring goals coming off the bench, just like he did against Everton. But for me, I'd want to start Gyökeres in a big final like this. I know that Havertz has final experience, but, Havertz has been with us now for quite a long time. I just don't believe that he still has what it takes to really shine in a big match for the Arsenal. I mean, I know he'll always have that Champions League final with Chelsea where it was he who scored the winner, then doing it for Chelsea and doing it for Arsenal are two different things. And it's no coincidence that we signed Havertz and Georgie from that Champions League winning team, and neither of them won anything with us. It's like, we're so allergic to winning that we turn winners into losers. And when Georgie Porgy went back to Brazil to play with Flamengo, he won the Copa Libertadores with them. Go figure.
I think he is one of them players that I actually do miss in the team.
He had his qualities at Chelsea, and obviously when he was at his best, he was a regular for the Italy national team. Now, of course, I think he's accepted that he's not going to play for Italy anymore, and Gennaro Gattuso has recently picked his Italy squad. There's no Georgie in that, so Georgie decided, might as well go back to my place of birth and, play for Flamengo, enjoy reconnecting with my roots, and, he seems to be enjoying life and he's happy. And I think at Arsenal, he had a few good games, but for the most part, he was at times slow and ponderous. And if you remember the home North London derby that we had against Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur, it was his differing that led to Spurs scoring that equalising goal. Hungman Son, I believe it was, who scored the equal. So I'll be honest with you. As much as I hated him, Granit Xhaka was a person I probably would miss. But even then, there were moments when I simply couldn't stand that. Most of the players from Arsenal I do miss were a big part of that FA Cup winning team. And since then, we've seen players come and gone, and I don't have any good memories of them. But just going back to your question, I'd start Gyökeres, but I understand why Arteta would choose Havertz for this game. If he does.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like... See, I always felt like that Havertz was better suited in the midfield role as a central attacking midfielder rather than a striker. But that might just be me. I think the games that he actually has played in the midfield role, I think he's looked better than he has in striker. Obviously scored the goal in the Carabao Cup final, and that was actually as a midfielder, not in the Carabao Cup final. The game against Chelsea in the Cup. So, I mean, that was, I think I'd prefer him in the midfield rather than as a striker, but who else do you put in? I mean, if you want to have a backup for Gyökeres, then we've got Gabriel Jesus, and then you keep Havertz as a midfielder. Like, that's what I would do. I mean, I think it's stupid playing Havertz as a striker. He misses too many open opportunities. He's not as clinical as Jesus is. He doesn't dribble as fast as Jesus does, and I think that Jesus deserves some slack, and I think he should be getting some more game time.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I would want to see Gyökeres start. But that was also another thing as well, is we saw how much, I think it was against Leverkusen or Everton, I think it was Leverkusen, how much Saka actually got into space, wanted the ball, but then Gyökeres decides to go on his own. So, I mean, if he was to play, like, I'd want to see him, maybe trying to at least commit some passes in rather than just trying to take a shot every time and trying to score. Although, like, we know that he's got the ability to do it, he's got the ability to shoot from long distance or whatever. I just still think that he needs to work with the team more and get himself into the system more until he thinks about trying to be a prolific striker. Because there was so many times in that Leverkusen game where literally he could have played the ball to Saka and Saka would have scored. I feel like the Saka criticism comes from the fact that he's not, like, getting the chances anymore. When you look at Saka, when he's on a 1v1 situation, he draws a second and then it's 2v1. And I think some part of me makes me feel like he does the same thing over and over again, and he's a bit predictable. I just don't think there's any change in his play or anything like that. I think the only chance that you're actually going to get a goal from Saka is if he's making them runs into the box, he's open, like you need to pass it to him. And I feel that that's what really let me down with Gyökeres on against Leverkusen.
Yeah, the thing about Saka, of course, as we all know, is I think he's lost a great deal of his pace. And you're absolutely spot on when you say that he does, he does look a little bit predictable. But what's sad is that there have been games where he just doesn't have or even if he has the ball at his feet on the wing, he doesn't really have the pace to have the speed to leave defenders in their wake anymore. We saw against Wolves. That, ironically, was the game where he started in the number 10 as an experiment. He did score very early on. But later on, he just tired. He was kept on for the full 90 minutes, and you could see him with energy levels flying. He's been running to the ground, the poor boy. And so, the worst part about having Saka start is that there's no way that Guardiola won't have a plan for him. And he's got Aït-Nouri, obviously, who's a well-versed left-back. He's not playing Nico O'Reilly in that position anymore. O'Reilly is now being used as an out-and-out left winger or a left-sided midfielder in a 4-3-3. And that is the right position. So you can see right now that Guardiola has shown an ability to evolve and take different opinions, while Arteta just refuses to change and evolve. So I do worry if Saka starts, but then if Madueke starts on the right wing, I don't know what he's going to offer. Whoever starts on the right wing, though, we can all agree on one thing. You bring Matt Salmon on as a substitute, I think he'll change the game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I think it's time that Arteta obviously does start winning silverware now, because I think he knows now it's do or die. Like, he needs to win this, and this is a really important match for his career. And I think that he understands that, and I think that he will. I feel part of me feels like he'll like play a stronger lineup. I think City as well. I think they're aware that the Premier League is unlikely for them. I mean, Pep said in multiple press conferences now, like, obviously he believes that they're still in it. However, like, I think he knows that it's going to be Arsenal who wins at the end of the season. And I mean, in regards to the Champions League as well, they got knocked out of that as well. So I think this is also a huge game for Pep Guardiola as well, especially if this actually is his last season at Manchester City, as the rumours are going by. But as I said, I think for both managers it's an important game. But I think Arteta definitely will know now that this is it. Like, he really needs to win this. Because if the scenario does come, which is unlikely, that we actually and only end up winning this at the end of the season, that would save his job.
Here's the thing, though. This is where you and I might differ, because, look, he obviously came in to replace Unai Emery and won the FA Cup at the end of that season. And obviously he made the best of the squad that he had. Yes, we suffered an embarrassing Europa League exit, but with Martinez's saves and Aubameyang's goals, we ended up overcoming Manchester City and Chelsea to win that FA Cup, and it was a beautiful moment. I remember, watching it and saying to myself, not only am I so grateful to have the players that we have who played big roles for us, but also Arteta has helped save our season, and I would be happy to support him. But since then, a lot of his actions and the way the team suffered in the first two full seasons he had turned me off him. And, we're a club, Blair, that expects to not just compete for trophies, but win them, at least win a few cups like we did under, Wenger. And I would go so far to say that if the League Cup is the only thing we end up winning, then that shouldn't be enough to save his job, because we've had so much, good fortune going our way in this league, and we've been doing really well. We've had a good draw for the Champions League so far, and we could at least reached the semi-finals. In the FA Cup, luck has been, smiling down on us. So, there's no excuse why we can't win 2 trophies this season at the bare minimum. If we end up just winning the League Cup, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe Arteta will realise that, he just can't really take the team over the line or really continue to do very much anymore. And one of the remaining games we have in the league is against Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth did the double over us last year, and of course Kepa was in goal for Bournemouth for both those games. And at half-time at the fourth, it's now Bournemouth 0, Manchester United 0, and both teams have had some really good chances. Petrovic has been in good form, but Bournemouth have also shown their willingness to attack, with Ryan carving United defence up. And so Bournemouth are a team that do like to play attacking football under Andoni Iraola. And if we slack off, we could end up in big trouble. We've also got 2 other home games against Newcastle United and Fulham, and both those teams are also going to be determined to spoil our party. And that's why I am not going to relax until we know the result against City at the Etihad. If we draw or beat City at the Etihad, it's ours. I'm confident. But that's why we cannot leave anything to chance. And it is important as well, we both agree, that Arteta finds a way to win this. Because you just know that regardless of the lineup that Pep picks, they're going to be desperate to, win some silverware. Because last season, they won nothing. I think they had a poor FA Cup. They reached the finals of both domestic cups for Bluffton. They were nowhere near challenging for the title. They didn't even make the knockout stage of the Champions League, if memory serves me right. So this season, they're not just going to want to improve on that. They're going to want more. And so this is a big test for Arteta. And I think if we just win the League Cup or end up winning nothing, he's going to have to, fall on his own sword and resign. I don't know if he'll do that, but maybe he'll start to see that, it's just not working. And the thing about being in a job for a long period of time, 5 or 6 years or more, is that eventually you realize it's draining. It's absolutely draining. And it can really end up leaving a pretty poor effect on you if, you end up continuing to not win. It can just... It's not really good for your own psyche and your own mental health. Let's just say. I just think that he needs to start delivering. It's simple. Well, apparently Flair has gone for a bit. I'll wait for him to come back. But if any of you lot are watching this on playback, I do think we have one live viewer who's watching. I'm not too sure who that would be, but obviously Flair and I have been giving our views on the Arsenal team and also the Manchester City team, and we are going to take a look and discuss City in more detail. I did mention that Ed Nouri at left back will have a role to play against Bukayo Saka or whoever starts on the right wing. And of course, with O'Reilly now predicted to be that left-sided midfielder in the attacking pivot, he could cause Saliba and Ben White or Timber a great deal, many problems. And both Flair and I agree that Ben White needs to start because, Timber's just a bit too much of an injury risk at the moment. If I were a Manchester City fan, I'd have my doubts about Rodri. I know he's come back from a bad knee injury, and he has been okay. He has been played back into some semblance of form. And Bernardo, obviously, as captain, has shown some good moments, but this could very well be the weak point. This is where they could be attacked if we have a strong enough midfield. And that's another reason why I'm not really keen on seeing Zubimendi start either. That should be an opportunity for someone like Norgard to come in, although I suppose, to be fair, Norgard is a more similar profile to Declan Rice, if you will. But Zubimendi just isn't it defensively. Husanov in my opinion, is a liability and probably is only getting the game he's getting because of injuries to some of the other defenders they have. But why you wouldn't start Mark Gahey for this final, I will never know. And obviously Diaz will be, a mainstay. Surprised that Marmoush isn't starting, but maybe Marmoush had some big roles last season and couldn't quite get City over the line. Haaland is, of course, the big match player, but Marmoush definitely will be one more player who will have a big role to play in. And I'll just check what happened. And so obviously, players had to go off. So, so that's pretty much it. And I'm not too sure if there's anyone else who we can call on this particular point in time. So I think I will, end this stream. And, obviously, I'm not too sure what Blair's prediction would be. I mean, I think he was hoping that we would win. And for me, I'm hopeful for a 2-1 win because I do think that as long as City do have Pusanov in the defence, he will be a bit of a weak link. He can have moments where he looks really good, but there will be some moments where he'll be a liability. And so it's imperative that we capitalise on that and really make it an uncomfortable afternoon for him. It will be played, of course, at 4:30 GMT. And so, of course, that's going to be the last game for the weekend after the Premiership games are all done for the weekend. And hopefully I'll get to see it, but we'll see what happens in any case. So just want to say thank you to all those of you who are watching this on playback. And it was something that was, thought of today, but I'm not too sure we could get too many people to participate. And what you had here was effectively two Arsenal fans shooting the confident that they can win this because when it's a cup final, they do seem to find that extra gear. But then it's also because they lost the last two last season in what was a pretty poor season by their standards. They are now more determined than ever to win this one. And I think there's something about us that more often than not tends to bring out the best in. So, like I said, I'm going for a 2-1 win. I hope we have a good game. And I hope that we end our long wait for silverware with a cup win. But 6 full seasons, there are many Arsenal fans who need and want and deserve a lot more. And many of us who are blaming Arteta for the lack of silverware have a right to blame him because we do question his man management. We do question the way he does things. And of course, as things stand, we're in a great position, but we've been in great positions in years gone by, and we've always found a way to, knock it up near the end. I only hope that things will be different this season, but, we're recognizing certain patterns, and we need to be proved that this time it will be very, very different. If we can get that, then happy days. And people always say that having points on the board is more valuable than having games in hand. But City proved in 22-23 that with their games in hand, they had they held all the aces, and that's the way. But anyway, come on, you Gunners. Hopeful for a 2-1 win. Let's win this silverware. I want to say thanks to all of you who are watching this on playback. And if there are any of you who watched it live, I don't know if there were, thank you once again. And hopefully we'll see you next week with another preview stream or review stream. And of course, next weekend, I should say, will be international week. So there won't be any club football for the moment. And it will be a nice break of sorts. All the teams have named their squads. We will try to have some focus on the playoffs as well, and see if both the Irish teams and Wales can, take a step towards qualification. We'll find out more. Until then, thanks a lot to all of you, and we will see you again soon. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy this weekend. Be safe and be happy, and don't do anything that Blair or I or any of our other co-hosts and panelists wouldn't do. Cheers, everyone, and take care.